In this demonstration, I want to cover a couple of things that we covered in Free Software Fundamentals Part 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type is the pwd command. Now I said the pwd command is really nice because what it does, it displays our present working directory, or it prints our working directory. This is where we're at right now. We're at /home/Marcus Carey. Also said earlier that all users except for the root, their home directory is usually under the home directory, the actual /home directory. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to do a ls for test real quick. And right here it says there's no such file or directory. So that gives us an opportunity to use the next command that I want to use, and that's the make directory command. mkdir test. And now if I use my cd test, we can go to this directory. So cd changes directory to this, make directory makes it, cd test takes me to that directory, and now I can use the pwd command again, and it tells me that my location is /home/Marcus Carey/test. Now what I can do here is I can do a ls, and we notice that nothing came back. If I do a ls-al, that will give me an all and a long listing, and we notice here that we will have the beginning of every directory or file begins with the permissions, and the D is first because this is a directory. And so from the directory permissions all the way down to the dot, that means the current directory. And the second entry I have here, and this is big because I have it on a big display for the demonstration purposes. This right here, the dot would be the parent directory. So I'm going to type the clear command to clear the screen so I can continue with this exercise. Now what I can do here is I'm going to cd ... that takes me up one level. I'm going to do a pwd, and I see that I'm at Marcus Carey again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cd to lesson, because I have before this I prepared this lesson folder, or directory should I say. And so when I do ls in here, I see that I have two files that I'm concerned with. In a simple text file, I referred to it in Free Software Fundamentals Part 2. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the copy command, that's cp sample.txt, and I'm going to rename that to sample2.txt. And now when I do a ls, I see that I have two files. The sample2 is what would have definitely, of course, have the same contents. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a clear command again, right? And so what we can do a couple of things with the move command. So what I want to do here is I want to say move sample2.txt, and I want to move that to ... that means go up a directory and then test. Now if I do a ls now, I see that I have the sample2 directory is not listed here again. So I can do a cd ... that takes me up one directory. This is using my relative path, and we'll get into relative path in later lessons. I'm going to type in pwd, and I see that I just did a directory change. I'm no longer in lesson, I'm in test. So now I can do a ls, and notice that the sample.txt file is here. That's because I used the move command, which that performed this operation and moved it from the lesson directory to the test directory. Now I'm going to get to a couple more commands. I'm going to type the clear command, and what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to type in our cat command. We did the cat command earlier in the last lesson, sample2.txt. And notice Now this line, this is a pre-configured file just for test purposes, for sample purposes. What I have is I have a text file and it has 100 lines in it, and it has the number, and then it says this is its sample. So you notice here, I said in the previous lesson that when you use the cat command, it quickly scrolls all the information past real quick. So what we can do is we can actually use the less command to enable the paging and scrolling functionality of that. So we're going to say less sample.text, press enter, and notice here I'm pressing the down arrow and it's taking me down, or I press enter and it'll take me down. Now anytime when it has this colon here, you can do a Q to quit. So I'm going to do clear, and so that's how you use the less command. Also said how you could, if I use the cat command, I said this in the free software fundamentals part 2. If you say cat sample text, and I can pipe that into less, and it'll give me the same thing. And I'll up, and you can see this command again up here, and I use the pipe character to take the standard output of this and put it into the less command, which allowed me to scroll just like if I said less the file name. Okay, the next command I'm going to do is I'm going to do the head command. So I'm going to say head sample2.text, and notice that the head command gives us the first 10 lines of that file. I'm going to do a clear because the head command, you can also specify something like the first 5 lines by doing the -5. So I'm going to say head -5 sample2.text, and that gives me the first 5 lines. We said the tail command works the same, except it gives you the end of the file. So let's type in tail-5 sample.text, press enter, and it gives me the last 5 lines of our sample2.text file. Okay, if I do ls-al, which I have to do to see the permissions of a file. Now, this would all be on one line normally, but since I have the text big, but the key thing is here, if you look here, your permissions are always first and your file name is last when you do a ls-al. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, okay, those are my permissions now. We're going to chmod those permissions as we did earlier, as we saw earlier in the presentation. I'm going to change that to 751 sample2.text. Now notice our permissions are like so. Now I'm going to do ls-al again. And notice it changed our permissions to that. That's our sample.txt file. These are the permissions right here associated with it. And I said chmod 751, and we have 7 right here. That's equivalent to 5. That's equivalent to 1. So one more thing, I'm going to show you the which command. I can type in which Perl, and it shows me that the directory that the binary Perl is in user, /usr/local/bin/Perl. I'm going to retype that command, and this time I'm going to do a redirect to make a file called perl.txt. And by using the cat command, what I can do is I can actually look at the contents of that file that I just created. And notice here that the cat command just printed out to standard output the contents of that file.